right, guys, welcome to Implausible Nature, your home for all things Black Templar. Today is going to be the first of many, many new videos that we're going to be doing with this great new Black Templar supplement that just came out, is about to come out. Today we're going to be talking Vows. This is a huge mechanic change for us, which is awesome. They stripped us of what is colloquially known as the super doctrine for Space Marines, basically the bonus that you get when you're in a particular doctrine. And instead, they have given us vows. So this is a really big change for us. It really fits our playstyle. Obviously, we used to have vows back when we were in 4th edition and 5th edition, which was a really cool mechanic, very fluffy and lore appropriate. So at the end of the read mission briefing step, you select one of the following vows, and there's the four, and they're the same names as they were in 4th edition. The really cool part about this is after you have seen your opponent's army list. So you know what you're up against. You get to choose your vow at that point, which is really powerful. You could be thinking, I'm going to take this vow for this army. You could build towards it if you want to, or you could go in with a more generic approach and be like, maybe I'm going to pick this vow. Then you're like, oh, well, maybe I want to pick this other vow instead. And you can make that change on the fly, which is really cool. And then it lasts the entire battle. It benefits every single unit in the army. This includes vehicles, non-core stuff, core stuff, characters, everybody. Everybody benefits from this, which is really cool. I love that feature of it. So we're going to start off, go through them one by one, talk about our thoughts on each one and sort of how, initial thoughts on what we're going to do to apply these in our army. So the first one is Abhor the Witch, Destroy the Witch. While this vow is in effect once per battle in your first movement phase, if there are any enemy Psyker units in your opponent's army, until the end of the phase, add 3 inches to the move characteristic of models in this unit. And then each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against a Psyker, reroll a wound of 1. The passion for it, which each vow has bonuses, but they also have a detriment to it. Those are called passions. And the passion affects any unit, with the exception of Sword Brethren. They are unaffected by passions, which is awesome. One thing that makes them really good and stand out amongst other units. So really nice there. The passion for this is while an enemy Psyker unit is within 18 inches of this unit cannot perform any actions. So honestly, this one is really fluffy. We hate witches. It's also really not very good. The 3-inch move at the beginning of the game is mediocre at best, in my opinion. Necrons get one that is 6 inches, and it happens right before the first battle round starts, so you get to do it whether you go first or not. This one is in your turn. You're just adding 3 inches to the movement characteristic. Not very. If you're going first, against some armies, you don't want to necessarily use that 3 inches, so it's going to go to waste. And then they reroll a wound roll of 1 against Psyker units only. The only place where this is really going to have widespread use is against Grey Knights and Thousand Sons. Basically armies comprised completely of Psykers. It's just not. There are better offensive options. The passion is really, really bad. Not being able to perform actions within 18 inches of a Psyker basically means that you're probably not performing actions, period, that game. So really just not a great vow. Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. So, you're playing Grey Knights or Thousand Sons, you're going to be within 18 inches of something the whole game.
Yeah.
So a lot of the easiest secondaries to accomplish are ones with actions.
Action-based.
So those are going to be kind of a little bit difficult for you to accomplish when your passion says you can't. So obviously the vow, at first glance, 3 inches, you just got to be careful that it's only in the first movement phase. So
and it adds to your movement characteristic as opposed to like the Necron one, which is considered a top tier take on the dynasties for Necrons. It's a 6 inch up to 6 inch pre-game move, and it happens before the start of the first battle round after determining who goes first. So compared to that, where even if you don't go first, you can move. So like in this one, if that were the case, if we're something like that, that could be pretty powerful because you could move, to a safer location, get some guys out of line of sight that you just couldn't do with deployment because of whatever reason. Or if you're going first, push your guys out there and get an advantage for moving up the board on turn one. But 3 inches to your movement, you can only use it on your turn. It's just not very good.
Yeah, I agree. It's
So
not something you're going to be taking.
no. The other three vows are much better, as we will see when we look at our next one, which is accept any challenge, no matter the odds. While this unit is within engagement range of any enemy units, if a combat doctrine is active for your army, this unit gains the bonus of the assault doctrine instead of the combat doctrine that is active. And then each time this unit fights until that fight is resolved, add 1 to the attacks characteristics of models in that unit, which is not cumulative with the additional attack granted by shock assault. The passion is you can't fall back. So with this one, you are looking at anytime you're fighting, you are getting that extra AP on your melee weapons. This is a pretty good offensive buff. Something which is really cool with it is you can remain in tactical doctrine for 2 turns instead of what we usually do, which is just 1, because first turn, second turn, third turn, your guns are going to benefit from those doctrines. And even if that unit is in melee, they're going to benefit from that. So you can essentially have both. You can shoot your guns at AP minus extra 1 and then charge in and get an extra -1 on your that. The extra attack, while it doesn't stack with shock assault, is good for prolonged combats, which do occasionally happen. So especially units that have powerful but not as many attacks, like Terminators with Thunderhammers, if they get stuck in a protracted combat, having that extra attacks can really make a difference.
Yep. One thing to note on this one is the fallback. Now, typically, in a fluff theme list, you want to probably say that you're not going to fall back and you're never going to fall back and it's not going to happen. But realistically, in a tournament play, sometimes we are going to fall back. Even if you're taking Oath, Glory, Secondary, you are going to sacrifice that point to get out
the
of
Osa
something
moment,
the Oath moment, sorry. To get out of a combat that's not beneficial to you, that it happens. You want to assault something else, or in this case, previously it's going to be devout push, which we know that is no longer the way it's supposed to be, or it is now.
Was previously,
So, but that's kind of a problem, not being able to fall back. But with that being said, with the litanies that we have now that are coming out, you can still take some of these other vows, pop this when you need to for a devastating charge.
You get that extra AP. You can really sort of combo this one with the next one that we're going to talk about. And there are multiple ways to get both benefits, which is nice. So if you want to take one or the other, you can do that. There's also the litany, which allows you to take a second vow on a unit, and of course, Sword Brethren ignore it, so they can fall back, and they do not come with an invul save unless you have Uphold the Honor, which we'll talk about in a second. So they are a little bit more fragile than like your Blade Guard and your Terminators and things like that. So they may want to fall back from a combat that's not favorable, that they know they're going to lose, even if they get their swings in. So but overall, I think it's a solid vow. It has a good buff to our damage output, adding an extra pip of AP, especially on lower AP weapons like chainswords, really helps a lot. So all right. So the next one, which is Suffer Not the Unclean to Live. While this vow is in effect, each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack against a non-vehicle unit, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. And the passion is whenever each time this unit is selected to charge, the closest enemy non-aircraft unit that is within 12 inches and not within engagement range of any other Black Templar units from your army must be declared as a target of that charge. So to clarify that passion, you are not forced to charge. So you can sit there 1 inch away, guns blaze, whatever it is you want to do. You are not forced to charge. It is if you are selected to charge, then you're going to be needing to at least select the unit that is closest to you as a target of the charge as well. So you can multi-charge and pick this guy who's 6 inches away and this guy who's 3 inches away. With rerolls to charge, we're probably going to be picking the closest unit anyway, because we want to get as close as we can to minimize our risk of failing a charge. So we're more than likely going to be picking that closest unit anyway. It could come up where you have a unit off to one side and a unit in front of you, and that unit off to the side is a little bit closer. Could negatively impact you, if you're trying to get that other unit. So there is a downside to it. It's not something that we can just be like, whatever. You will have to position carefully, when doing this to make sure that the unit that you want to charge is actually the closest, so you don't have to worry about that. But this is our old super doctrine, the Knights of Sigismund, except it's way better. The old Knights of Sigismund was only when we charged in the Assault Doctrine. That's it. That was the only time you ever got that bonus, and it didn't work against vehicles. This still doesn't work against vehicles, which is fine. That makes sense. We're swordsmen. It's supposed to be, it's not like a anti-tank thing, right? This works all the time. So when you charge, heroic intervene, you got charged. It's an ongoing combat. The whole game, the whole army, you're auto wounding on 6s, which is really nice because now you don't have to worry about, if you're going to get charged, you'll get those auto wounds. So another good offensive buff. I think it's something that will, again, we could be stacking it with the other one with the litany to really bump our damage output and like do some heavy burst damage.
Yep, exactly. This one combos really well with a lot of things that are in this book. Many of you have seen our stratagem that allows us to get mortal wounds on wound
Mm-hmm.
rolls of 6. Our litany
Mm-hmm.
also does
The
that.
litany.
So
Mm-hmm.
one thing that may come up in back, because you may be wondering what happens when you auto wound, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there isn't.
What is that dice roll of the auto wound? So yeah, we'll see what if GW is aware of that weird interaction and what they do with it. It would be nice to have clarification on that. I know that things that occur on a like exploding hits, GW has ruled that second hit is just a normal hit. It doesn't also count as a 6. So if you have like extra AP or something like that on a 6 to hit, you don't get that extra AP. So we'll see what they do with that. It'll be interesting if they give us a FAQ, or if they don't, let's make sure we email the team and say, hey, how does this
Yep,
work?
exactly.
Because when you have things like, it would not pair well if it was just a normal wound. It would not pair well with that litany that gives us mortal wounds on 6s, because we want to be rolling to wound in those cases to get as many rolls to wound as possible. So that way we're procking that mortal wound as much as possible. So
The
yeah.
only the other thing that I want to kind of mention with that, and we touched on it briefly, is when you're charging. And Alex mentioned this about careful positioning. Is it's both the closest enemy non-aircraft unit within 12 inches, but it also has to be a unit that's not in engagement range. So if you want to charge multiple units into the same squad, you need to make sure that there is not another eligible unit within range. So that is something you have to think about when you're positioning your models. So this is going to
Yeah.
be a little bit of a harsher
But
detriment.
you you could also use that to your advantage. So if there's a unit off to the side and you know you're gonna attack them with a character or with somebody else with some other unit, you can push into them first with that unit, charge, make that charge there, and then once they're in engagement range, if your unit that you wanted to charge in the other direction is further away from that unit, now you don't have to worry about them anymore because they're in engagement range. So now you can charge that unit that you wanted to. So you could, it works both
Yep.
ways. There, you do have to be careful positioning, but you could also use that to your advantage and hit that other unit first with something else, and then go where you want to with your other unit. So because sometimes it will be unavoidable that we got both, can't do anything about it. But if I could maybe attack that unit with something else, then you know you can circumvent it a
Yep.
little bit.
Yeah, and with the prevalence of a more T5 out there, orcs are a great example of this. Everyone's up in arms about
Hmm.
them going up to T5. We found out that their points are more than compensating for that. However, this is a perfect way to,
Also, the
yeah, the
morale
morale
that really hurts them.
hurts them.
It really hurts them
But this is a great way
on
to
the
get
big
around that.
squads.
Death Guard.
Yep. Our last vow, which is uphold the honor of the emperor. Models in this unit has a 5+ invulnerable save. Each time an attack is made against this unit, an unmodified wound roll of 1 or 2 for that attack fails, irrespective of any abilities that weapon or the model making that attack may have. And its passion is each time an enemy model makes an attack against this unit does not receive the benefits of cover against that attack. So this is really, really
Yeah.
powerful. Army wide 5+ invulnerable save is fantastic, especially on units that can't otherwise get them. Crusader squads, Redemptors, those kind of things, especially dreadnoughts, Invictors, dreadnoughts, vehicles. Some of our vehicles that were like borderline competitive, now maybe something that you could take, in a competitive list. Um, the other nice thing is it helps out our firstborn units, even those with storm shields, terminators, and vanguard vets in particular. They don't have access to transhuman, so a lot of stuff out there that can wound you on twos or double your strength or double your toughness. I mean, so you're gonna essentially -1 to wound them, which is significant. That's a good chunk less damage that'll be coming your way. So to go over the passion, because I'm sure there's going to be people who are confused by this and what does that mean? It does not receive the benefits of cover. Does that mean they don't get obscuring? Can I just not hide my stuff anymore? No. So the rare rules section of the big rule book goes over this, and it specifically calls out this type of thing. And I'll paraphrase it here for you guys, so that way you're clear on it. You can be clear on it with your opponents. So if a rule says that the target does not receive the benefits of cover without specifying what the benefits are, as this does, then when resolving an attack with that rule, models in the target unit ignore all benefits received from all terrain traits, including those that improve its saving throw, impose penalties to hit rolls, and so on. All right, so light cover, heavy cover, etc., dense cover. However, there is another sentence here, and it says, note that rules that say the target unit does not receive the benefits of cover do not enable a model or weapon with that rule to target a unit that would not normally be visible due to terrain features with the obscuring trait. So yes, you can still hide your stuff behind obscuring. They do not get to ignore that. So that would be terrible.
Yep.
Because that's a core feature of terrain now, is having stuff that has obscuring so you can block line of sight and stuff like that. So not having cover in certain circumstances can hurt a lot, especially those lower AP, AP1, AP2 things. Anything AP3 or better. I mean, AP2 you're going to be on a 5 anyway with your normal armor save. So, but anything AP3 or better, that 5+ is going to come into play. Bob, what do you think about this
So
vow? Is this going to be the
This is
vow?
the vow. This is the vow. There's a reason why Warhammer community did not leak this one.
Release
So
this
they
one?
knew
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everyone is going to be taking this, and there's good reason. So it affects
It's really powerful.
everything in your army.
Everything.
That is huge. So
Yep,
all of these things, ninth edition has been all about making sure that we have invols on everything as much as we can, make ourselves as durable as
yep.
possible, because we know that
There's a lot of
the
AP out
AP
there.
is crazy in the game. We have Drakari with their Dark Lances. We have their liquefiers that were so dangerous. Now it's Spirit Vortex. We have Orcs with their rockets that are Strength 8. Large AP. We have tons of things out there that just kill our models straight up, no saves. Now
Yep,
we have no problem taking whatever we want, and we're going to always at least get a save. So
yep.
now on a power armored guy, like Alex said, you're going to be seeing this coming into play with AP3 or better. But when we're in a meta, or melta gun, multi melta, or dark lances meta,
Equivalent, yeah. High strength AP4
it's
plus.
it's
Lots of damage.
very very
Think
common.
about that on a Redemptor. You got a 5 up chance, 33% on a Redemptor to just straight up ignore that Melta shot that could take upwards of 8 damage off in a single shot. So that's incredible. I mean, the Aurelian Shroud was in the previous index really popular for that very reason, to give an invul to the Redemptor Dreadnoughts that we were running as our main fire support. Of course, that has now been nerfed to infantry only, which really kind of takes it out of contention. I mean, you could use it on a huge Crusader blob, but we have this
Yep.
as well, and it's still only one for one turn. It's a very small bubble. So unfortunately, the Aurelian Shroud is probably going to take a back seat to this vow in particular. The other cool thing is neophytes. Primaris neophytes are 2 wounds, 2 attacks, just like other Primaris, but that 4+ save. So anything AP2 or higher, they are
Yep.
benefiting from this, which is awesome. So you can tank those AP 2 or higher shots on these guys, and they don't lose much by taking a 5 up versus a 4 up. So really, really powerful vow. Um, and again, you can combo this with one of the 2 offensive vows with that litany. You need that extra AP, and you can choose that second vow. So if we're rocking the 5+ invul vow, and we need some extra punch, we can decide when we cast the litany, hey, do we need to auto wound? Do we need extra AP? What kind of thing are we going here for? And so that's really
Yep.
powerful. So now we've kind of talked about all 4 vows. Bob, what is your take on these? How are we going to utilize these? And what vows do you think we're going to see most often?
So honestly, in my opinion, uh, probably 80% of the time, most lists are going to probably take Uphold. Um, I'm honestly building my lists around it, uh, simply because you kind of want to make sure that you're having units in your list that are going to be able to utilize it. So, for example, you're not going to max out like Vanguard veterans with storm shields, and then Blade Guard veterans with storm. Obviously, they come with storm shields. Terminators or storm shields, and then use this vow because it's going to be redundant.
Yeah,
Now, you would
that's kind of what we've been doing. Is lots of Van Vets, lots of Termies, lots of Blade Guard. Some combination of all the above to make sure that we are as
yeah,
durable as possible.
having this vow, I feel frees up a lot of CP, because you're not trying to buff up your characters with differing relics. I mean, you can, but
Yeah,
you're able to run the lists a little bit more balanced, where we traditionally have taken a lot of elites. While we can still do that, we
hmm
can afford to take some other things now that are
yeah, like a 20-man Crusader
attack
squad.
bike.
The 5-up
Attack bikes might
invul.
be coming back.
Attack bikes. Attack bikes.
Land
I
speeders.
mean, they never left. Land speeders, yeah. Land speeders, storm speeders both benefit from this. Tanks, gladiators, we're kind of on that cusp of
Yep.
are they worth it? The impulsor, I think I know that we lost the devout push, and we'll talk about that in another video in depth. I know that we lost the engage in melee part of devout push, but I honestly think devout push is better off where it is now. It's got more utility. We have other ways to get into combat, but I think an impulsor could still be worth it. Stick some sword brethren in it. It gets a free. It gets the invul for free instead of having to pay for it. And then if you want to just spend the points anyway, a multi melt is only a couple points more. You put a multi melta on it, fly that thing up the board. Well, not fly, doesn't have fly anymore, but drive that thing up the board, and park it and make it a target and protect those sword brethren for a turn, and then they'll jump out and murder some stuff. So, so I think it's got a lot of applications. I mean, imagine Grimaldus gives a feel no pain now. So we talked about this. A 20-man. How hard do you think it's going to be to shift a 20-man Crusader squad with a 5-up invul, a 6-up feel no pain, and you can't wound it on 2s? And if you really needed to, you could transhuman it to can't wound it on anything but a 4-up for 2 CP.
Yep.
So it's Black Tide, I think, might be back.
Not only that,
so which will make a lot
will.
of people
Just wait
happy.
until I post that list. But with that being said, mechanization might be back too. I mean, it's
yeah. Land Raider with a 5-up. I've been begging for a 5-up on my Land Raider forever. Now, the only issue is what do you transport with it? We don't really need the Devout Push. Still gives us a good mobility tool, so our Terminators can get across the board quickly. But so what do you put in it? Centurions would be my first thought as the only thing that really needs that protection. Plus a Firstborn Apothecary can ride with 5 of them in there. But again, with a 5-up and a 6-up feel no pain, you could probably walk Centurions across the board and devout push them. Well, no, I don't think you can. I think it's core. It's core. Yeah, it's core now. So you can't devout push them. But they have guns, so you're gonna march up the board and shoot stuff. Advance that first turn maybe if necessary, which we get to reroll. So yeah, but we're gonna be just as every bit as fast, especially with Grimaldus. We're gonna be every bit as fast as we were before. We're just not gonna have those gimmicky. We're gonna pick this one unit to charge in advance, and we're gonna pick this unit to devout push into combat, type of thing. But we have better options than that. I think. Now.
I mean, kind of round it out a little bit with this vow. I think it because of the way that we're built now. I've been saying it for months now. We're going to have to adapt and overcome. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be just screaming. We're going to suck. Yep. Okay, I'll be upfront. You guys have been watching probably since the very beginning. I've been talking about since 9th edition started how great that
to adapt.
The movement tricks were, and everyone's like, "No, Bob, you're crazy. You have no idea what you're talking about." I'm like, it's going to be great. It's objective games, right? 6 months go by. Everyone's like, oh my God, Black Templars are so good. I'm like, well, okay, I said that. So you have to realize that, the book is brand new. We have had access to it a little bit.
There's a lot to be.
Yep. There's combos. You need to learn the book, play it. But I guarantee you will see these combos once you sink your teeth into it a little bit, and you will realize that us getting these durability bonuses akin to Death Guard and Iron Hands and doing it almost better than them is going to be huge. So we still have movement tricks in Devout Push.
Yeah.
We still have that durability, and we still have immense, massive targeted close combat damage potential. So you will be able to kill whatever you want when you want, and just like he said before, imagine
Yep.
trying to get rid of a massive block of Crusader squads rampaging on
Armored
your
Crusaders.
opponent's side of
Yeah.
the board, while you have Centurions
Yeah.
chilling in the middle of the board shooting away that you can't kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
So I
yeah,
think there's a
there
lot of
definitely
potential
is.
for this. For this vow, for all the vows in general, I think the vows are awesome overall as a mechanic. I think we've got three really good choices. Obviously, we're leaning towards Uphold as probably the best overall in any circumstance vow. But I think, depending on your opponent, you could pick either accept or suffer not and still come out okay. So, Bob, final thoughts on Vows. How is this going to, change our gameplay? And, overall, what do you think of
Okay,
the
so in
Vows in
general,
general?
I think they were, a big change from what we're used to. Uh, the passions sometimes can be a little bit of a detriment and make you have to play a little bit more careful, but we're used to that, right? We've had ninth
Yeah,
edition.
we've always been a finesse army, at
Yeah,
least since
we've had
8. Yeah.
to deal with devout push, advance and charge, different plays like that to kind of build our skills at being a little bit more tactical with our movement and such with that. So that's nothing new. Now, being able to pick your vows, after you know what your opponent is, really huge. But I suspect we're typically going to be taking Uphold anyway. But the great thing about that litany is you can change it, and I think that's going to be one of those things that is going to be huge, huge in a game. You can
Yeah.
decide. And I think it's a great thing because one of the things that it's going to tie to is litanies and the vows really going to be playing together. It's not CP reliant, and that's something that we've been really,
Yes.
really, really
Huge.
CP craving with devout push. Eating up. You know,
Hmm.
Innis, right? He talked about how
A
he
lot.
used 10 for devout
10
push.
CP for
Well, guess what?
push
That's
and
not going to
4
be
for
a
everything
thing.
else.
It's not going to
But
be a thing
we don't have to do that anymore. We're still going to use devout push. It's just
in
not
both turns.
the oh my god, got to use it every
So
yeah,
that's going to
exactly.
be
So
the flexibility of
yeah.
being able to have some of that CP for other things for now, so that we can actually open the book a little bit wider. So flexibility, adaptability in your
Yep.
games as well is going to be huge, and I think just this change is going to make us more reliable in general. So Death Guard and Iron Hand, you really
Yep.
kind of know what you're getting into. This vow, I keep going back to it, but this vow will allow us to take so many more different styles of lists than we're used to, simply because of that.
Yep.
Yeah, I
Don't
mean,
have to go elite
so
heavy.
many different archetypes that are going to be available for now, and it will still have the same reliability no matter what you have. So it's a great.
Yep. And we're going to have lots of videos on
It's
building
my
those
favorite
lists
part.
coming up soon. So yeah, exactly. So that wraps it up for today's video. We're gonna have lots more content. Hopefully, more content more often. That is our goal with this. We have so many things we want to talk about. We're also going to talk about all the new units. We're going to talk about the litanies. We're going to talk about stratagems. We're probably going to break that stuff up into multiple videos because we don't want to have one massive, like 2 hour long video that's going to be something to slog through. We'd rather have more shorter content, even as though this video is like
That's
40
okay though;
minutes.
they're going to listen.
Um, but it's okay. Yeah, we hope you're going to listen. So if you made it this far, thank you. And thank you to all of our Patreons. Keep an eye out for more videos coming very soon. And until then, keep on crusading.